The air in the downtown office had been thick with anxiety all morning, but nothing could have prepared me for the moment the heavy oak door to my executive suite slammed open, announcing the arrival of absolute chaos. "I demand to see the person in charge right now," a voice shrieked, slicing through the tense silence like a poorly sharpened knife. I swear my heart dropped straight into my stomach. This was it, the infamous Karen in the flesh, and she chose the worst possible moment. We were minutes away from finalizing the biggest city partnership deal of the quarter, and seated right across my mahogany desk, nursing a lukewarm glass of water, was Governor Hayes, the woman whose signature we desperately needed. Seriously, is this actually happening? I'd had a bad feeling since I woke up. The sky was a miserable gray, matching the stale scent of burnt coffee wafting from the hallway, and the incessant drumming of rain against the skyscraper windows wasn't helping my nerves. My focus should have been laser-locked on Governor Hayes's calm, observant expression as she reviewed our proposal one last time, but the distant sound of raised voices from the reception area had started my anxiety humming 10 minutes ago. My assistant, bless her soul, had tried valiantly to run interference, but this particular woman, a formidable, middle-aged blonde in an overly structured suit, whose face already seemed permanently set to aggrieved, had clearly managed to bypass all common decency and security protocols. The sound of her expensive heels thud-thud, thudding down the plush carpet was enough to make my palms sweat. "Well, now," I thought, trying to maintain an expression of professional calm while internally screaming, "This is an epic fail." Karen paused just inside the doorway, arms crossed tightly over her chest, taking in the room with a look of supreme entitlement. Her eyes, wide and searching, scanned the room, clearly looking for a suitable victim, or, as she probably saw it, the manager. "Which one of you is responsible for this absolute disgrace?" She spat, her voice pitched so high I could feel a low, thrumming vibration in my sinuses. The sheer audacity was breathtaking. I pushed my chair back an inch, ready to stand up and attempt damage control. But before I could utter a single professional, placating word, Karen marched right past me. She wasn't even looking at me. No, her focus was on the large window displaying the panoramic, rain-swept cityscape, the perceived source of her distress. "That sign," she ranted, pointing a manicured, shaking finger toward the bustling street 6 floors below. "It is entirely too loud, and the color is offensive. It's distracting my staff across the street. I called yesterday, I called an hour ago, and no one would return my call, which, frankly, is unacceptable for a business of this magnitude. I demand it be taken down immediately, and I want an apology from whoever is in charge of this absolute joke of an operation." The silence that followed was so profound and immediate that you could have cut the tension with a razor blade. Even the city hum seemed to quiet down, replaced only by the gentle hiss of the building's internal air conditioning. I didn't need to look at Governor Hayes to know she was watching this entire spectacle unfold. The shame was scalding, a hot blush creeping up my neck and into my ears. I opened my mouth to apologize profusely for the interruption and explain that we didn't own any signs on the exterior of the building. A common, albeit baffling, complaint in this high-rise. But Karen finally turned her head fully, ready to lock eyes with the person she thought she was intimidating. That's when it happened. Her eyes, still blazing with self-righteous fury, landed on the governor. The governor wasn't sitting behind my desk, which perhaps explains why Karen hadn't identified her as the manager right away. She was seated in the guest chair beside me, her posture impeccable, her hands folded neatly over the binder she had just closed. And as Karen's brain registered the sharp, familiar face from every local newspaper and evening newscast, the governor of the state, no less, her mouth went completely slack. The color drained out of her face so fast, I genuinely worried she might faint onto my expensive rug. "Oh my God." She froze. She actually froze solid. Governor Hayes, ever the professional, slowly and deliberately set her water glass down on the coaster. She didn't raise her voice, but the sudden shift in atmosphere felt like the pressure had tripled. "I take it," the governor said, her tone smooth but colder than the window glass, "that you are not on the agenda for this meeting." Karen tried to speak. I apologize, I didn't realize." The words came out thin and reedy. a far cry from the aggressive shriek of moments before. The governor didn't let her finish. "Ma'am," she continued, her eyes now narrowed just slightly. "I understand you have a complaint about a sign on an adjacent building, and that you have been unsuccessful in reaching the appropriate channels. However, this is a scheduled meeting concerning a multimillion-dollar public-private infrastructure project. Is the color of a street sign truly worth this level of interruption and professional disrespect?" Boom. Justice served, wrapped in a velvet glove. Karen looked down at her shoes, then back at the governor, then at me, the person she had completely ignored just seconds ago. She opened her mouth again, desperately searching for some shred of dignity, but all she managed was a pathetic, gasping sound that resembled a dying vacuum cleaner. This whole saga, this whole power trip had just imploded spectacularly. The governor turned her attention to me, offering a barely perceptible, sympathetic half-smile. "Mr./Ms. my last name," she said. "Perhaps your office staff could escort this individual out of the secure area? We have critical work to complete." I signaled my relief with a tiny nod, practically leaping out of my seat to usher the now humiliated Karen out the door. The swift, silent walk of shame down the hallway was truly a sight to behold. I closed the door, my hands trembling slightly from the adrenaline spike, and let out a long, shaky sigh. My body suddenly felt heavy, but my heart was soaring. When I returned to my desk, Governor Hayes was already reviewing the next page of the proposal, her face completely composed. "Well," she murmured, looking up, a flicker of amusement in her eyes. "That was certainly a compelling demonstration of why respect for professional boundaries is non-negotiable, wouldn't you say? Some people seem to forget that true power doesn't come from yelling the loudest. It comes from earning the seat at the table." She tapped the final page. "Now, shall we get back to governing?" I looked at the contract, then back at the woman whose calm authority had just delivered the perfect dose of karma. It was an unforgettable lesson. When you barge in demanding justice, you had better make sure you're not interrupting the person who actually holds the gavel. The message was clear. Arrogance always finds its match, and the only way to move forward is with grace and professionalism. Now, that's a moment I'll be recounting for years.